Hey guys, what's up? It's Jules here for WhatCulture Wrestling with another episode of the most insane things happening in wrestling this week. Think of it as a show where I sift through the chunky broth or suplex, that was the obvious joke there, and strain out all the chunky, tasty morsels for you to chow down on. I'm very hungry this morning. Now, much like a therapist would say to beaver cleavage, we have a lot to unpack, so let's crack on with it and hit that intro. Okay, so let's start off with a biggie that would make Xavier Woods spill his loads and talk about Ronda Rousey. Now, Rousey, aka Little Miss Point and Pose, has actually been signed to a multi-year deal with the WWE. This in itself is actually quite shocking, but not as insane as why this is happening. Now, according to Wrestling Observer, Rousey's been brought into the company not to become a champion, but to elevate Stephanie McMahon. Okay. The reason behind this is because Steph wants to become a mainstream star and is going to use Rousey's appeal to get her over with the masses. Now, logic would dictate that Rousey's just going to become a thorn in Steph's side and make the Authority like a legitimate force once again in the spotlight. But then again, trying to apply logic to this situation is like trying to wonder out what the f***'s happened to Ty Dillinger. Has no one actually told Steph that she's, f***ing minted and can just go out and buy herself some fame? Also, has no one actually told her that she looks like a f***ing feral stoat with an attitude to match? Maybe if she was just, nice to people, stopped belittling her own talent on the roster and just trying to get away with stuff without having any comeuppance whatsoever, maybe even taking herself off of TV so that we can actually miss her tan stretch leather face, then maybe we would actually want to see her in the first f***ing place. It is so weird to see somebody brought into the company to elevate somebody else who is, let's face it, a backstage talent. She's not an in-ring performer. Oh God, could you imagine if she actually does want to become an in-ring performer? That would be terrible. That would be absolutely terrible. Actually, no, there is actually a positive for this, because if she becomes popular and f***s off, then we don't have to see her anymore. So you know what? I've changed my opinion totally. I'm totally for this. Bring it on. Bring on those McMahonigans. Vince McMahon is mad as f***. In other news, water is wet. Well, it turns out that maybe this mad mist is thinning a bit, because this week he actually said that he's actually got too much on his plate. He can't have his cake and f*** it seems. So he's telling people that he's going to have to take a step away from the WWE. Vince McMahon is saying that he's going to step away from responsibilities in the WWE. Okay. After resurrecting He Hate Me Meme Factory, the XFL, which actually doesn't stand for Extreme Football League, the X is literally just put on there because Vince thought it was cool. Anyway, he realised that he can't do everything all at once, so has actually given Triple H the keys to the kingdom. And by that, I mean he's chucked him 205 Live. This is less the keys to the Porsche and more the sort of comedy golf buggy you keep in the garage for a laugh. But still, Triple H has done wonders with NXT, so it's actually very interesting to see if he can turn this cruiserweight division around. Also, it's just worryingly insane how weird it is to say the words Vince McMahon stepping away from the WWE in any capacity, but it also shows just how invested he is in this NFL challenger. Good luck to you, pal. Right, so I don't know if you guys know about Izzy. Now, Izzy is a Bayley superfan, I guess, and she's also a manager of some 2-bit tag team down in Florida. She's also set to appear at Punk Pro Wrestling this week. Now, this in itself isn't too crazy, apart from the fact that she is like 10 or 11 years old. I'm not actually going to check. I don't want to Google how old is Izzy, because that will just instantly slap me on a register. But that actually does lead me to my next point, because in the run-up to the promotion for the event, she put out a weird tweet. Now, on the surface, it doesn't seem too bad until you start dissecting it. It says, stop by, get some Izzy Mania merch, and get a hug. Get a hug. Now, I'm a father myself. I mean, if you've gone over to our comics channel, you'll have seen Ewan, the product of my ballsack. I wouldn't want anyone, any wrestling stranger, to come up and hug my preteen child. I mean, no offense to wrestling fans. I mean, actually quite a lot of offense to wrestling fans. If you actually smelled an arena after an event, disgusting. But it's when you start to weigh into account that maybe all of these sweaty, gross wrestling Marky Mark fans, plus the fact that Florida is in the top 10 US states of sexual offenders, that things start to get a little bit wishy-washy. And by wishy-washy, I mean that she might end up hugging a pervert. Now, a lot of you in the comments will be going, oh, it's not a big deal, there'll be security there, oh, you're just blowing it out of proportions. But yeah, I totally agree, that probably is going to be the case, it will be monitored. But you honestly tell me that the idea of a really greasy, horrible wrestling fan, and we all know at least one of them, hugging a preteen child sits well with you. And to be honest, it's not really about that. It's about the fact that Izzy's parents probably should have done a better job at vetting her social media, or at least making sure that there were things in place to begin with to make it very clear that sexual offenders and people like that should stay away. I mean, the parents really should have just told the whole idea in general to buck some off, if you know what I mean. Right, so the Honky Tonk Man is one of the greatest heels in wrestling history, cementing a legacy with the longest ever run as IC champion and being smug as f*** while doing it. Fans would tune in each and every time in the hopes of seeing this Elvis antagonizer shown the jailhouse blues by some young upstart. And as we know, that upstart challenger came in the form of the flowing hair, armband wielding, questionable personal tastes Ultimate Warrior. The crowd went more mental than Adam Cleary when I take his security blanket when the honk was bonked by the Ultimate Warrior, even though the Tonky Man got a huge paycheck for doing it. And clearly this is a moment that lives on for the man himself, as in a recent interview for Wrestling INC, he said that maybe the crowd weren't as happy as originally thought about him losing. This is a direct quote from him. So when I did lose, there was such an explosion in the building if you go back and listen. Then I lose to the Ultimate Warrior and then people are like, yes, he lost. And then there's a second breath, but not to that guy. We wanted him beat, but not to that guy. There was no second breath. There was only a reaction as sustained as my presence on all of these f***ing WhatCulture channels. They didn't want the Ultimate Warrior to win. Jesus Christ, Tonky. Are you having a giraffe?
Having a giraffe, mate.
Are you having a giraffe? Maybe he's got tinnitus or something from all those shitty songs he kept playing. Right, so this Corey Graves and Booker T business is a bit weird, isn't it? It's quite hard to follow. But in summary, here's what we know so far. Now, Booker, who admittedly did seem a few shucky ducks short of a quack as of late, has been kicked off of the Raw commentary team, and in his opinion, it was because of endangered peacock Corey Graves. Which strictly isn't true, as the voices on the commentary team's headset have been telling the guys to jump on Booker every time he says something that's a little bit weird, which, let's face it, is every other breath. Now, Booker, and it is honestly hard to gauge his tone, said that he was going to beat Corey Graves' ass. Graves, in response to this, put Booker over as one of his favourite people, then backhandedly started quoting Sun Tzu, and then absolutely roasted Booker T through Coach by saying, if you keep this up, you'll be working in local radio. Now, I have no idea if this is actually meant to be a legitimate beef or if it's complete work, but if it's not, and this is real, then laughing at somebody's loss of income, that's pretty below the belt. Especially to somebody with as big a lineage as Booker T. Then again, maybe you do take the piss out of your mates like this. I wouldn't know. All of mine are dead. Who knows? Either way, they're all f***ing mad. And those are the most insane things happening in wrestling this week. Now, as always, I'm going to close out the show the only way I know how, by reading my favourite comment from last week's episode. The first time I heard Jules' voice, I ripped my ears off and ate them. The first time I saw Jules' face, I ripped out my eyeballs and stomped on them. But now I make bank in fetish films. Thank you, Papa Jules, for turning my life around. I have literally no idea what to say to that, other than, you're welcome. And there we have it. Big love to Michael Sidgwick and Phil Chambers for their continued work on this show. Big love to you for watching, and as always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome, and I'll speak to you soon.
So, thanks for watching. Please feel free to click on any of these things around my head, or something terrible might happen to the dog. Too sweet me, bro. Traitor. Traitor.